I start telling people about hell, I might just scare them off. Where are you going to scare them off to? Hell number 2? Or are you just going to sit there and let them burn?
Yeah. Hey, this is Chris from Don't Let Them Burn. Welcome to the program. This is Hollywood Matrix, episode 6. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Visit us on teespring.com. You can visit us on Patreon. Of course, our website, don'tletthemburn.com. Also, you can get us on Parler or Parlay, however you want to say that. Parlay is French, but it's spelled Parler. So you can follow us on there. We're on Facebook still and Twitter, but you know, those things have all sorts of problems. They just removed president from the status of Donald J. Trump on Facebook. Check that out. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about tonight, but I want to inform you about that. Tonight we have my guest, my friend, William Ramsey, and we're going to be talking about the occult in Hollywood. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
All right. Yeah, been an interesting week.
It has. It's been very interesting. There's a lot of news. Holy smokes.
Yes, and it's just left and right. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
But for the topic today, this is one of his books, Children of the Beast, chronicling a lot of things dealing with Aleister Crowley and how he affected our culture. So the children are the people that actually follow him, and you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised who they are. So I have a couple pictures in the thumbnail there, and one of them is 007. I don't know if you want to get into that now, but for people that wonder why am I putting 007 there, there's a reason, and we'll probably touch that tonight. And some other ones that really, they're just horror movies, witchcraft and whatnot. So anyway, where would you like to start tonight, sir?
007 is a great start. Ian Fleming was working for British intelligence during World War II, and he took on the name of 007 from an earlier magician in English history, but who also was like the guy who created the Enochian language. It was Kelly, and I can't remember the magician's name. Anyway, so Fleming was very aware of the occult and actually had some kind of conversations. Crowley actually sent Ian Fleming a letter. So there's a letter in Children of the Beast from Crowley after Hitler's third in command, really, Hess, was sent to northern England, Scotland area to supposedly negotiate a peace with England. So they had this guy who flew all the way over there and wanted to talk and negotiate a peace. And so Crowley said, I can talk to this guy, because Crowley was very much into the occult and astrology, and so was Hess. Hess was a big time occultist. So he was offering his services to Fleming, who was right under the British Naval Command and intelligence. So he was always running operations, and a lot of the stuff that went into his books is from his World War II experiences. So a lot of the card games that he was playing, or the theme of gambling that's in Ian Fleming's 007 films almost all the time, is something that Fleming experienced. So when he was in Portugal and things like that. But in the first Crowley film and book, Casino Royale, the chiffre, which in French means the cipher or like the riddle, was based upon Crowley. So he had this look and visage of Crowley. So Fleming definitely was drawing on his knowledge of Crowley into 007. But yeah, so very interesting. So a lot of these guys kind of knew each other, Crowley and Fleming definitely. And the Fleming family were from Scotland, so they were probably pretty aware of Crowley's doings up at Bullskin Manor and things like that.
Yeah, and something about Tubal Cain and
right. So the Tubal Cain is supposedly like the Masonic kind of ball, and that it's supposed to be used in the Facebook insignia as well. So there might be a lot of things going on there. But yeah, no, Fleming definitely knew Crowley, and I think I referenced that in that book as well. Their knowledge of Crowley.
Yeah, and this movie, not Casino Royale, but the newest one is it Spectre? No, it's not Spectre, is it? That's the last one. Anyway, the newest one coming out, no one knows what it's really about, but I hear some references to Donald Trump and whatnot. So they sound like they're going to get woke as well. So hey, who knows, right?
Who knows?
Yeah, that's the rumors right now, and they're supposedly, we don't know for sure, supposedly setting up a black female 007, which in a regular world that would be kind of interesting, but in the woke world, we know what they're trying to do. So it is interesting stuff. The connections to Crowley are all over the place. And yeah, this is a good place to start because a lot of people are anticipating this one right here, No Time to Die.
Right. And I mean, that's what the most famous spy series in history, right?
Yes. And the man, the 007 character is not necessarily, he's an amoral person, really.
He's a what?
An amoral person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, License to Kill.
Yeah. With impunity. So yeah, very interesting stuff here. Where else would you like to take us? Unless you have something.
Well, I mean, I did do that movie, Occult Hollywood, so I covered a lot of things. John Dee was the person that Fleming got 007 from. That was John Dee's code name, and John Dee was the magician or house magician to Queen Elizabeth. So Dee was, an alchemist and all this other stuff, but you can see, I think he had a lot of symbols and things like that, but he basically had the Enochian language given to him, and it's something that Crowley did and Jack Parsons did, is use this kind of magical board and communicate with other dimensions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can see some of that, and there's a lot. Supposedly, Fleming was in the know. He went to Eton. He was part of the upper class, and definitely in the UK. And apparently, I haven't read all of his books, but he put a lot of inside information into his books. Particularly, he had like a reference to Le Cercle, which is a straight up post-war fascist circle. So he had some of these clubs. Definitely, he was using real events and putting them into his books. Now, I don't know how much of that bleeds over to the films, but
yeah,
yeah, he was a fairly well networked guy. Fleming was, for sure.
You probably definitely have to know some deep occult knowledge to even get the references in the film if they're there, because an average person watching, they're just seeing a spy film.
Right.
No
so, doubt.
Very interesting stuff. And
one of the people that he knew, that Fleming knew, was a guy by the name of Dennis Wheatley, who made a bunch of occult movies. So I cover him in Occult Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So if you look up Dennis Wheatley, he did 2 films, Devil Rides Out to The Devil a Daughter, but he actually sat and had dinner with Crowley. So Wheatley's films, like the Hammer films, which are much more known in the UK than here, but that's very interesting. The other thing that's interesting is that his daughter, Wheatley, was passed away. He was actually the real Stephen King and really influenced Fleming. So Wheatley's spy series was the basis for Fleming, but Fleming really outshined Wheatley. He was not very well known in the U.S., but tons of occult works. He's friends with Christopher Lee, who was in a lot of the Lord of the Rings films.
Yeah.
So Wheatley is and he also wrote a semi-fictional book called The Used Dark Forces, which was based upon the Nazis and what the Nazis were up to. But yeah, Wheatley's a very important figure for many reasons. So there's actually a picture of somebody who looks like Crowley, this kind of bald-headed guy. But there's actually a signed copy of a book of Crowley's Magic and Theory and Practice that he signed to Wheatley, and he was referencing a nice meal that they had. And but it's interesting because when we talked last, we talked about that meeting in the desert about the UFOs.
Yeah.
Well, who's in that meeting of the desert with a bunch of occultists and stuff? Dennis Wheatley's daughter. So she's around. So she's like a direct tie through her dad to Crowley, the living tie, like somebody who's literally alive.
Right. That's crazy.
I can't remember her first name. I actually reached out to her, but she didn't really have any interest in talking about her father at all. She talks about Stonehenge and astronomy and astrology, I think.
Yeah.
And UFOs now, I guess. But yeah, Dennis Wheatley is actually really important. And I cover his stuff because in some of his films, his film, he had this character Mokata, who's basically another Crowley figure.
Yeah.
So, and that's from The Devil Rides Out. So these guys, Fleming and Wheatley, are using this pastiche or this personage that's very much Crowley-like in their fictional literature.
Yeah. So people watching or reading this stuff, I mean, it's pretty obviously occult, but they'll say, "Hey, come on, man. It's just literature. It doesn't affect me."
Well, I would say Wheatley himself thought that there was a definite battle of good and evil, and I think that he integrated a lot of that stuff into his books as, trying to explain that. So I think he would say he was on the forces of light, but there's definitely, The Devil Rides Out, it's definitely occult inspired. There's like human sacrifice, and they do something and the devil shows up, and it's pretty dark, and he puts in all of his knowledge of the occult into those books. So, so those films are around, and a lot of these guys, a lot of artists and things were influenced by Wheatley. Like I think Black Sabbath said they got a lot of ideas from reading Dennis Wheatley. So these guys all were aware. It was kind of like Pulp Fiction. That was Pulp Fiction for UK.
And his ties here to Theosophy.
Yeah. So he's publishing works if you look at his corpus of works, he put out like 40 or 50 or 60 books on a variety. Some were fictional, some non-fictional, different series. He was a voluminous writer. So you can just see all of these kind of influence. Black Magic Story, I think there's actually like a Dennis Wheatley reader that has like all of his occult influence books.
Wow. So somebody's asking, about Eisenhower's granddaughter?
Well, supposedly, right? Isn't she? I think she's in that mixes with that group, kind of the New Age group. I don't know much about her.
Yeah. And someone else says Lex Luthor is based off Crowley, and that is true. That is true. Go ahead.
Surprised. I didn't know that. I've never seen the confirmation of that, but it would be interesting to read more about that. I'm not aware of that.
Read Our Gods Wear Spandex.
Our Gods Wear Spandex. Okay.
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah.
The author's not a Christian or anything. He's just pretty much showing. He's a Buddhist, and he's showing people that how Christians say that you have a God-shaped heart or a God-shaped hole in your heart. It's something like that he's trying to get across from a secular point of view. And so he's showing you how a lot of us worship superheroes and don't even know it because of that opposite.
Interesting. I believe that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. So Wheatley and Fleming all went through World War II together, and it's still, those are influential guys in these films. So definitely an occult aspect to some of these Hollywood, B movie types.
Right. And Hollywood, even though I don't have any notes about it right now, but I know that Hollywood, a lot of it started on with occultism and whatnot, seances, you name it, that's not usually shown in the history of Hollywood. So,
I believe it. And there's a lot of black magic even to this day in Los Angeles, no question.
Look at this. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's the book I was talking about. They use dark forces. It's really his inquiry into the Nazism the occult Nazism.
Yeah. And I was just speaking about this to somebody today, and they were blown away that all that stuff was in Hitler's era. But hey, these forces, these spiritual forces, don't go away. They keep pushing us towards something that looks new, but it's not new. Nothing new under the sun, as the Bible claims. So so interesting stuff here. I never really knew about this dude.
Yeah, and there's so if you look, The Devil Rides Out on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see a picture on the left that's based on Crowley, Mokata, and there's Christopher Lee, who was just a giant in so many films, and he was famously in The Wicker Man, which is about human sacrifice, paganism and human sacrifice.
Yeah,
he was actually the kind of evil magician. But yeah, that Wicker ceremony is something that went back into the past, really.
Yeah, and the Druids,
right?
Yeah, and that's where Burning Man comes from.
Right. Right. And then you had in the writer or the graphics for this show, you included that Midsummer picture, right? Which
Yes.
is based or like influenced by Wicker Man. So, or it's
Mhm.
the same kind of occultism they use. They use, and this is like a healing sign. See that sign? That's an occult sign. Joe Biden just made that recently.
Ah,
That's a Masonic sign. So
wow.
when he's putting his hands up there, he's hailing the sun, which is which is the symbol of Lucifer too. Light
Yeah.
bringer. So
Yeah.
Joe Biden's totally into the occult, man. He's
Oh, yeah. You can
probably
tell.
amazing.
Yeah. When you do the math on this call-in number for the voting, you will see the 666. But
Right, and they had the pentagram integrated into Biden Harris, so it's like, and that family, man.
Mhm.
Hunter Biden was up to horrific acts. Some that
Yeah.
are criminal. I'm surprised he's walking free.
Yeah. I noticed that some of the pictures that are shown. I mean, obviously you can't show some of the acts because they have underage, and so I get that, and I don't want to see that, and I don't want that on my computer. But it's pretty obvious when you look at enough of the pictures. He's bad. He's bad news.
Very bad. Yeah, not a good person.
Um, you,
I mean, yeah, it's
you mentioned Midsummer. I want to get into some of this.
yeah. Midsummer is very interesting. That to me just reminded me of like a Wicker Man story. They go back into the woods. There's a pyramid. Um, yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
there's a lot of like sacrifice. People start dying, like they're brought in, and then slowly they get murdered and murdered. It's almost like
Yeah, total witchcraft.
yeah, witchcraft.
Yeah, man. I didn't watch the movie, but I saw somebody else talk about it, and they're pretty credible. And from what they were saying, I didn't want to watch the movie even after they said what they had to say. I wasn't interested at all because it's basically an initiation movie.
I think you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, the real twist on it is that she likes it at the end. She's smiling and enjoying
there
it.
we go.
So it gets pretty dark. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she sees all the killings and it ends up with like a Wicker Man ending. Everything gets burned up.
And look at the cross symbolism, which that this probably points to Mayday or whatnot.
Right.
These little kids walking around this pole.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. So
and
the maypole is actually kind of like a fertility ritual and all this stuff like that. So
mhm.
it goes back, and this guy who made this movie, his earlier one, I forgot the name of that, was full of occultism too.
Yeah.
There was like some demon in the house and
Mhm.
possessing the family. I forgot what the
You know,
writer director's name was.
isn't this a A24 movie? Yes, we got to talk about this company. If you know much about it, A24. All of the movies, if not, or maybe not all, but most. And if I could search enough and see, it might be all the movies they put out are pretty much have some ties somehow, some way to some witchcraft theme.
Really interesting. Not
Yeah.
surprised.
Um,
Not surprised.
so they're the one that put out Midsummer. So the first couple movies were very, very weird. I mean, you know how you have regular dialogue and you're talking, but in some of these movies, they like, yeah, so you see me and I got, and I'm gonna go down the street and they talk so weird. This one right here, I believe that this came out last year. This one is really about Prometheus mixed with a little bit of Lovecraftian Cthulhu and whatnot. It's a movie about some gods, but it's not portrayed that way. But once you start seeing the symbolism,
Really interesting.
you see Cthulhu in there. You see, you're basically you're flying too close to the sun. Get down, which is the lighthouse. Okay,
Right.
it's a weird movie, but A24 is one of these companies they're growing pretty fast and putting out a lot of movies. And hey. Oh, there's that girl. She's from
Yeah, the witch. That's all about witchcraft too. That must is how they got their start.
I'm telling you, man.
That's a creepy movie as well. It's a
And
very dark.
I didn't watch it, but I saw the poster. I was like, I'm not watching that one.
But it ends with it's the same thing as Midsummer. They like the darkness. This one ends where like
Mhm.
they're entranced and enthralled by the evil, and
I,
they enjoy it.
I think they had another one called Lobster. My friend was telling me about that. My friend that do some of my movie reviews with me, Letitia. Um, she told me about that movie and how weird it was and how horrifying it was in the sense of once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Okay, it's just weirdness. But obviously,
Yeah, they have some strange films.
oh
But
yeah,
I didn't know these are all A24 films.
yeah, Tusk too. Tusk, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I haven't seen all these films, and obviously, I said I didn't watch some. So, but at the same time, I'm telling you, once the audience I'm talking to now, once you find all the themes and understand the themes and the symbolism, it can't go over your head. Somebody said Hereditary. Yes, that's a
Hereditary, that was the movie before Midsummer.
yeah. And did they?
Tons of occultism.
I'm not even sure if they did a Hereditary. Let me check out who did Hereditary because I heard that one was in your face witchcraft.
No, it was. I did. It's the same director as Midsummer.
Oh, so
Yeah.
all right. Let's see. Hereditary, IMDb. Hold on a second. Let me put this back up here. Director Ari Aster. Let me go back to this and do a search here to see if. Oh, come on now, they're the ones that did all right here. All right, so it's very interesting, man. I've been avoiding this. What's going on? I've been avoiding this film company ever after I saw a couple films of theirs. I'm like, come on, the theme is always something weird. And
Weird.
oh, the book.
Ari Aster, that's the guy.
All right, so that's the screenplay book. Oh, come on now. This
Yeah,
is
see, there's the bird head, all that spoons,
Yeah.
it's all from there, yeah.
yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah, some people that went and saw this movie said they weren't at the same afterwards. It was just that bad.
It's really dark. It's very
Mhm.
dark.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't talk about this movie company a lot because I never really decided to actually do a whole program on them. But some of their movies seem, innocent in a sense from the way you see the trailer. But then all of a sudden, in the middle of the movie, it's like watching a Quentin Tarantino movie. Oh yeah, you got some violence, you got some cursing, and and then by the middle of the movie, like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Or the last 15 minutes, and it's the same thing with these. You see the themes. Look at this. Oh, this is the witch again.
There's the witch.
So this girl was just in the New Mutants. And she plays some sort of witch that goes on the astral plane or whatever. I'm going to do a separate show on this, but
well, it's interesting you bring all that stuff because it's all in the present, right? It's not even something from the past. It's
right.
People are being exposed to all of this stuff.
Yeah,
in 2020.
Yeah, and this movie is on the Demon Bear storyline, which is a part of the comic book. It's pretty much about a demonic bear chasing her down. Her power is to be pretty much manipulate reality, and it grows on your deepest fear. Okay,
Right.
so that same girl, like I said, is in this movie. Not that the problem is her, but she's playing another dark part, is what I'm trying to say. Where are these? There they go. There she is. It was kind of boring actually, but this girl here, she is a werewolf, and they try their best to make you like her. And her, I don't know if it's like this in the comic book. This one right here, can't remember her name. These two get into a relationship, if you know what I mean. This guy is like a flame on guy, Sunspot, I think his name is. Forgot her name, but she's the witch, and he is Cannonball. He gets to thrust his body all over the place and punch it through walls and whatnot through kinetic energy. So anyway, it still has the occult themes, animal spirits, blah 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 blah. But let's go back where we intended to go, and that is where you want to go with this movie thing. You want to go Kenneth Anger or
Sure, we can talk about Kenneth Anger all the way to the present. I mean, that guy goes all the way back to early Crowley, knew Parsons' wife, still around, still alive. There's a recent documentary about him.
Yeah.
I mean, his real name is Angermeyer. I think he made Lucifer Rising, and some of these other early. And Martin Scorsese said he was an influence for him. He kind of made one of the first music videos, so he's a little bit of a groundbreaker.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know he's tied to the Manson family and they never really talk about it. It's very strange. But he lived with Bobby Bouzoulet, who was one of the first people convicted in the murder of Hinman that took place in Topanga Canyon. But Hinman was supposedly murdered on the command of Manson.
Okay.
So he's actually part of the whole Manson story. Nobody ever really makes that connection, which I think is a mistake. But that's him with Lucifer on there. And he's still around. He's in this one, if you want to really, I don't know if you want an audience to show it, but it's in a video called, they're doing an occult ritual.
Yeah.
It's called Love in the Old Days. Maybe if you pop it up, it's not too obvious, but I wouldn't show it in its entirety.
Yeah, because one of my videos already got taken down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You guys have to look that up on your own.
But it's James Franco was the director. So these guys still, James Franco's around. So this guy's still influential.
Yeah,
friends with the Rolling Stones. Pardon me?
Isn't James Franco into Satanism?
Well, that's the rumor. I've never considered.
Rumor?
You know more than I do. I don't know. That's what
I've just seen a couple of things that are very strange. I have no way to prove it right now unless I did some deep research, but I've seen some strange thing. His affiliations. I heard that he was supposed to meet up for some black thing seance. I don't know what it was, and he didn't show up because it was starting to become a little publicly known, so he didn't show up for it.
Oh, right. That took place. Okay, so that was Crowley's ritual Bartzabel. It was called the Bartzabel Working, and it took place in Venice. And the guy who did the ritual is a kind of henchman or sidekick or acolyte of Kenneth Anger. His name is Brian Bishop, or type in Bartzabel, Bartzebel, Venice. It'll pop up. Brian Bishop, I think his name. So that's not it. But that's the one over there with the red in the red and the pop up. That's it. Brian Butler is his name. So he's actually in this Love in the Old Days video I was talking about. He's in there with Anger. But so Franco was supposed to partake in that. So I've heard that. I've also heard other rumors. I can't verify that he's a huge fan of LaVeyan Satanism and the number 9. He has tattoos on his body.
Okay.
I don't know. That was from Crazy Days and Nights. But he's been implicated in some very strange stuff. That's Brian Butler.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. That may not even be his real name because the B of Brian Butler is a 56, right? So you have a full numerological thing going on there. Brian Butler, 5 and a 6, pentagram, hexagram, just like Harry Potter, Tyler Durden, right? So these guys are all magicians.
My goodness.
Yeah, you can see they kind of play those same games. Once you see those correlations.
Yeah. Sometimes the real story never comes out until either after they're dead or sometime decades after that.
That's true.
More book or whatnot. This is interesting stuff here.
On the subject of, if we go back to Christopher Lee, he was in a show with Sammy Davis Jr. called My Devil or something like that. I mean, it was a stone cold kind of like a Christopher Lee. Type in Christopher Lee, Sammy Davis Jr. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like Hello Satan was the name of it. And I think there it is right there. Poor Devil, that's right. So that was a series featuring Christopher Lee. So you can see, and you see Sammy Davis with LaVey and Michael Aquino.
Yeah.
So this guy was a part of the Brat Pack, part of that whole crew or group.
Right.
He was an outright kind of occultist.
There goes it.
Yeah, so you can watch those videos in there. Yeah, Christopher Lee and Poor Devil. Pretty remarkable. So you can just see these connections. And Christopher Lee, there's kind of a famous, well, not that famous, but there's a video of him talking about his occult literature and his rumor of supposedly having a huge occult library.
He was into this crap too.
Yeah, but he actually gave a warning. He said you can lose your mind and soul. So I think he was actually either from experience or from what he had seen
Yeah.
what the occult does to people. So,
Mhm.
but I mean, you can just see like people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as Satanism." It's like it goes all the way back to the beginning of film. You
Yeah.
know, if you
Yeah.
look at Metropolis, there's a pentagram involved in that, and it's about transhumanism and things like that.
Yes.
So these things, people are thinking about them in different angles.
In fact, I'll pull that up in a second. But you're mentioning some interesting names that I forgot where to go back to. Oh, so you had the Rat Pack. Oh, this
Right.
guy. This guy. What's his name again? This guy?
That's Michael Aquino. So he broke from LaVey and started the Temple of Set.
Yes, and he just died, right? Like
That's correct. He
week
supposedly
ago.
died this year. Yeah.
Yeah, let's bring him up by himself here.
And that's he wrote the book of Coming Forth by Night, which is really long. It's almost unbearable to read, but he talks about his influence with LaVey, and and this is a psychological warfare officer
Yeah.
who I think was working in the Bush administration with a guy named Paul Villeli, and they wrote a book together called Mind War. It's called From PSYOP to Mind War. Psychological operations for the future, or something like that. But it's an incredible book because they don't believe. It's like you would think that there's a psyop, right, where somebody commits a psyop and then finish. But his idea was like never let up, just constantly go into a warfare situation where you're constantly applying psychological operations,
Yeah.
and through very deceitful means, using electronics and all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
Can you type in From PSYOP to Mind War?
Okay. Give me a second here.
Should pop up.
Let me there's too much going on. From PSYOP to Mind War. So this guy is a decorated officer.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I think he was a colonel. I mean, he rose up in the ranks. He had a significant rank.
Wow.
His mother was like a real super genius. She graduated from Stanford. So he does, yeah. So maybe you can pop up that one on the top left. From
Boom.
PSYOP to Mind. Yeah, click on that for me, will you? Yeah. So you see Colonel Paul Villeli and Major Michael Aquino, 1980. So it goes way back. And the Presidio, and there's all kinds of stories about the Presidio. There was actually like a huge pedophile scandal, and some people tied Aquino to it. And there's a guy who talks about the Presidio because he worked there. His name is, can't remember. He's kind of like in the alternative media.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now, but yeah, he was around. I mean, he lived very close to the Presidio. He was on kind of like Nob Hill. People knew where this guy lived, Aquino.
Yeah.
It was right in the heart of San Francisco.
So he had any influence on Hollywood that you know of?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, he's there with Sammy Davis Jr. I don't know who else might have been. There's pictures of him with other there's a guy by the name of Harryhausen, who was kind of one of the early claymation or special effects guys who was pictured with this guy, pictured with Aquino. So there's some, like I've seen those old pictures, but this guy Villeli, who wrote a paper with Aquino, was like a contributor to Fox News. So he's on Fox News all the time. You can type in Villeli Fox News, all the videos will pop up. So this guy, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like, why are you watching TV news? You're literally being hammered with military psyops.
Yeah, I keep telling people that NLP, all this stuff.
They're just raping people's brains and minds. Why do even people reference CNN, Fox News? I don't get it.
Yeah,
they're not credible.
Right.
I mean, Weekly World News or something else is definitely more credible than the corporate media. Like, I don't understand MSNBC exists.
Yeah.
Like, how dumb? I mean, how can people watch it? It's paid for by Bill Gates. That's the MSN.
Yeah.
Why are you watching this? This is I think that CNN, I bet their ratings are trash. The real ratings is like playing in the background of bars. And yeah, I mean, it's garbage. It's total. It's just,
they all get their orders from wherever the top is.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And you can see Fox News just turned on Trump, just like that.
Right.
Massive frauds taking place. It's one of the biggest scandals in our country's history. Is the changing of votes in software, and they're just saying there's no evidence of fraud. Wisconsin had 87% of its population vote.
Right.
Okay, 87%. The standard is about 65%.
Yeah.
So
And
it's 5 standard deviations, statistical deviations from the norm. It's 0.9999999% possible. It's like 1 out of 10 million, and that's just one state. So then, if you put all the other states together, the whole thing. What's really bad is that this may have exposed fraud that's been going on for decades. But Trump got cheated, man. So yeah, and if they get away with this, the republic's gone. Their next ones will be cheated on. There'll be no turning back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't expect anything in the future. So the Christians who are out there worried about the beast system or something terrible happening, wake up. It happens now. It's happening right now.
Yeah. So, there's some stuff I just can't say, but I'll just put it like this. Trump gets in office, dude, we've avoided a catastrophe.
Biden will be a catastrophe. And it's time for good men to come to the aid of their country. We're in a constitutional real nightmare right now. So.
Yeah, people don't understand it's real. And the war with China is real.
Real.
So
if they find those ballots, came from China, the whole country has to turn on a dime right away. Everybody has to be on board. So these are very perilous times. You may not feel it or sense it, but these are very perilous times. And the people that Biden's surrounding himself with are warmongers. So you're going back into kind of like Bush type of era again, which coming from a different side. I mean, the guy made speeches about the New World Order. He's been in Washington for 50 years. So if they steal this election, every American should be ready for heavy turbulence. Gonna be good. It's not going to be good if Trump. What'll happen is the Supreme Court are the adults, so they're going to look over everything, and they're going to say this is fraud, and the left is going to go berserk. But I think that eventually, if it makes it to the Supreme Court in the next month or two, that'll save the country. But if not, you can just. I mean, I truly believe the left, the people who listen to NPR, who are stupid enough to listen to NPR, and some of these other things, truly believe that this was a non-fraud election because they've been hammered with from psyop to mind war. The left on their own is more like. Anyway, don't get me started.
Yeah, I know. the stuff I'm showing right here on the screen, people, if you haven't heard of it, I used to practice some of this stuff. Okay, and this is the simplest way to explain mind control to you. They say natural language processing. In other places is neural linguistic processing, and there's another one. So see, neural linguistic process is basically, I know it's going to sound weird when I say it. I get it, but it's witchcraft. You use the words to have an outcome. You control people's thoughts and whatnot by the words that you use. Anyone that's an ex-witch will tell you this is what they do. Okay. It's not just about putting frog legs in a pot. All right. You take the words, fashion them in a certain way. Like, say, for instance, progressive. Progressive is not a bad word. It's the intent behind the word. That's the problem. Right. And so they'll use words like that. They'll continue with words like, say, new normal. We've been hearing that a lot. That's they're brainwashing you. When you keep hearing peaceful protest, they're brainwashing you. When you hear there is no evidence for voter fraud, they are brainwashing you.
They're definitely brainwashing you.
And so the movies do the same thing. They'll put certain suggestive words. Not every movie, maybe, but there's a lot of witches in Hollywood. So there you have it. Just, if you were able to see the percentage, you'd probably scream. So keep hearing subliminal languages. You have the symbolism. You have the people that are it goes very deep. Okay, I'm not going to get into all that. Let's just keep on the road.
No, but it's important because that's part of the occult Hollywood. That's part of the matrix is these guys are using mind control, suggestibility, and all kinds of tricks, but they can't tell you. They can't show you what's going on behind the curtain. But I think that this psyop to mind war, Aquino to Vallely, is a very important connection because these people on Fox News think that they're not getting mind raped and they're just being clowned to the 10th degree, like just an ultimate clown job on you for watching Fox News and thinking they literally had, I mean, people, Tucker Carlson may be a really nice, good guy. He literally said, give Hunter Biden a pass. The guy was selling the country out. He's a bag man. He's a I mean, that's what they do. They have somebody carry the bag. If you look at a lot of these people in Washington, D.C., they're having their family members launder their money or take money for people that make it back to them. It's not that complex. But for Hunter Biden to just give him a pass, and then people just say, "Oh, this guy's." I really trust Hunter Biden. I mean, I really trust Tucker Carlson. You're out of your mind, man.
There's a lot of stuff going on that people are just not aware of, and this movie right here kind of explains it all. You know, there's somebody behind the curtain. You think he's all part? It's just there's just a small few people, right?
Right.
And they're promising you all these good things. He's just it's a illusion.
Right. It's an illusion. Do you want to? Have you ever seen what's the Wizard of Oz? This is a great occult link that nobody knows. It's the Wizard of Oz with Michael Jackson, where he plays the
Wiz.
The Wiz. Can you bring up the Wiz? The last sequence where they're in between the Twin Towers in New York City dancing. It's incredible. It's really just an incredible occult moment. The final scene right there in green. They're literally dancing in front of the Twin Towers. And in Crowley's system, Oz translates to 77, and that's kind of one of the primary Crowley numbers. And it was in the Flight 77 in the 2001 event. But it's incredible. And they're dancing, actually, this circle that's in the very center there of the Wiz.
That's right.
It's called the
Twin Towers. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. It has a funny name. It's called the I can't remember. But it's like this brass thing that there's incredible ties. They feature it in Fight Club, but they also have all these brass domes. It's called the spherical caryatid. And you'll see it right there in the center. Perfect. Yes. You see the Oz, and it just ties right into the whole 9/11 event. It's off the charts.
Wow.
And that's the final sequence when he makes it to the Emerald Kingdom. This is where the Emerald Kingdom is right where the ground zero was in 9/11.
That's interesting. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, he has another book called Prophet of Evil. I'll show it real quick. Let me get over here and do like that. And we'll explain some of the stuff he's talking about this way. All right, there we go.
That's my old one. That's the old one.
Old version?
Yeah, I've actually turned it into a 6.6x9. But,
okay.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I had to reformat the whole thing. The original there's original copies of that around that were all printed out from my printer. Like I even have it. I didn't have a Squarespace, and so when I made a book, I just made it the same thing as a piece of paper. I wasn't even thinking about bookshelves or anything like that. But I've learned to kind of, make sure it fits in a bookshelf now. I think 6x9 is the way to go.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because bigger sheet, more expensive. So all right, so that's the Wiz, and that's in the 70s or 80s? 80s?
I think it's in the 80s, but it's like a foreshadowing. It's a foreshadowing of 9/11 right there. Yeah. Like they knew the occult meaning of the Twin Towers, right?
Right.
So people knew 9/11 was going to happen. Maybe not how it was going to play out, but they knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the elements that foreshadows that is like, it's off the chart. And then you see the picture of George W. Bush and Prophet of Evil wearing the 77 hat, like the occult hat. And his aircraft carrier was 77 too. So you see these guys are sending signals, they know. And George Bush, his famous New World Order speech was 9/11, 1990, right? So he had it all figured out down to the 11 years to the date to give that speech, knowing what was going to happen in 11 years. And in some ways, he's just a frontman for people who are more powerful than himself. But
Yeah.
these guys are very clever, man. They have the numerology down.
Yeah, I mean, for people like that are skeptics, or you just don't get this, and it sounds totally like conspiracy theory. All you want, if you don't know the system, how it works, numerology, the symbols, and all this stuff, the signs, and all that, you won't get it at all. Sorry, there's no way for you to just get it at first glance. But once the research is done for you, you might want to go check it out, because there are things, there are real false flags, there are real occult rituals being done. And one of the big occult rituals to me are horror movies, period. Just period. Because it's all about the shedding of innocent blood, or the shedding of children blood, or something, blood. And most of these occult rituals either have the symbolic blood or the real blood. So and we love getting scared by it, but it's totally demonic and has nothing to do with God if you are a Christian. So
I have an exchange. We can go right from the Wiz to the Good Shepherd, because it shows these guys are coming up in occult rituals. So the Good Shepherd was with Matt Damon and Robert De Niro, and it was really kind of about Skull and Bones and the intel community, and features a ritual in the Good Shepherd of these guys being inducted into Skull and Bones.
Yeah,
there's face masks, swords, the whole ritualized thing. I don't know if they would show that. If you type in Good Shepherd Skull and Bone ritual, there literally is a sequence of Matt Damon being tapped, which is how they get brought into the system. They get tapped on the shoulder, inducted into it. Yeah, you can see, I think, some of that ritual stuff there. But they actually featured, it was very smart. They knew a lot, because Skull and Bones has an island community far north that a lot of people don't know about. It's on an island in Lake Superior, something like that, on the opposite side from Toronto. So that's kind of like where they would go. And not a lot of people know that, but they featured scenes from that in The Good Shepherd. So you could tell how smart these guys were. They're really trying to tell the people something. And it was kind of a movie that wasn't highly advertised, but they were very smart. And the way that the film ends, you watch it, they're literally in like a club with high back. There's the Skull and Bones sequence right there.
Yes,
on that circle. Yeah, because the tomb is actually two-tiered, so people can see on the circle. So they had it down very well. But the way that the movie ends is they're in a recreation of the inside of the Bohemian Club. So it's really, they were smart. Whoever did the sets for that were very, very clever.
Yeah, and wasn't he just doing the ceremony of Hiram Abiff right there?
Something like that, yeah. And the guy by the name of Ron Rosenbaum actually was snuck into one of the initiation rituals, and he filmed it. So there's actually that's it right there. There's actually an initiation ritual that somebody saw from a distance because they were curious about it. But they have secret libraries there, and I think that these guys, it's intergenerational. So these guys probably read a lot of occult manuals, books, all kinds of stuff like that. And on the subject of mind control, it's actually interesting because in Children of the Beast, I have a sequence about Marilyn Manson, and the books on his bookshelf were about the occult and mind control. I think it was LaVey, but yeah. No, The Good Shepherd's I think it's an important work, I think, for people to of how elite occultism functions.
That star right there, I can't remember what it's called, but I know it's something occultic.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and it's funny that they're not right on it. So
I think that this figure on the left was supposed to be a kind of a symbol or symbolize George Bush Sr.
Okay. Why am I here? Okay. Anyway, so that's.
So we went from this to this. I mean, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Then we can go to JFK because Oliver Stone knows all the occult stuff too. He comes from Yale. He went to Yale, and so I included him in Occult Hollywood Volume 2, which you can see on Vimeo if you are interested in watching some of the stuff. But He has the obelisk in the background, Oliver Stone. Yeah, there's just tons of interesting things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to warn us, right? Like,
I think so.
yeah,
To a certain extent. He's exposing what it went on.
yeah.
I mean, these kind of guys, the guys from Skull and Bones, are the kind of people who killed JFK. Basically,
Yeah.
kind of a right-wing
Right.
coup. Really, it was really a coup to, in my opinion, change the whole country. And they're very angry with JFK for a lot of reasons. And it's kind of somewhat relevant today because JFK's presidency was supposedly due to the stuffing of ballots in the Chicago districts. So the Daily Machine in Chicago supposedly stuffed the machines, and that tipped the balance to JFK. And so some of these right wingers, he was very forward. I think JFK was very forward thinking. There were a lot of issues there. But he blew the Bay of Pigs and alienated a lot of the old school super powerful guys, and they just shot him on November 22nd, 1963. My opinion. That's really, and so I think that seeing that kind of history is important because the left, I think the left really shows. I think that, I mean, I don't think any of it's right. I don't think Oliver Stone's wrong on JFK, but they never got into why the right was so angry with JFK and why they wanted to get rid of him.
Right. Somebody said muffled sound. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's something in the background coming back through me.
Okay, because I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if it's from you, but I'll take my audio while we keep talking. Yeah. So, what about Stephen King?
Stephen King. I don't know that much about King. I've never really traced. I know that he had, obviously a horror pedigree, but I don't know how much of the occult he knows. Do you know?
I'm actually doing research on him for my documentary, so I haven't gotten all the way there yet. But what I hear or whatever is that he was on either coke or some other drug, and that's how he used to get some of his inspiration. That all that tells me is he was in contact with spirits. That's all it tells me, because that's the usual method. Either some sort of form of altered state of consciousness or whatnot, and it's either you got drinking, you got smoking, you got sniffing, you got dancing, you got cutting yourself, and all these different ways of getting into altered state of consciousness. So that's all I have right now. But based on some of his writings, like one of the movies I picked up, put on the thumbnail is Pet Cemetery. I didn't watch the new one, but I'm familiar with the old. This is the poster I put up. I heard the new one was just god awful, but it goes into occult themes, raising the dead to whatever, including animals. And so that goes into zombies, that goes into ancestor worship and other things. So the themes of the occult are all in his books. There's no way around it. So, and I hear that they have like Writers Guild that teach some of this stuff as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you wonder why, some of these people, they have such acute occult stuff in their programming, in their movies. They have to know something. There's no way around it. And you just don't play around with this stuff and not have some deep knowledge. There's no way. I can't see it.
I agree with that.
So this was one I didn't watch the movie. I don't know if anybody in the audience watched the movie. Somebody in the audience said Shawnette Priest said 16 pointed star, Virginia Sun, Macedonia Sun Star. Yeah, there you go. That was in the
Sun Star, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing I do know about Stephen King is that his character in The Stand was wearing a smiley face. So how does that get in there? I don't remember it in the book.
Right.
The guy's name was Randall Flagg. If you type in Randall Flagg, and they just redid it, and I think it's coming out next month with Whoopi Goldberg. We did that.
See this?
No, but go. I haven't seen.
I'm trying to show you something before we go there.
Okay, cool.
We missed it because I didn't do the review yet. This is
Okay.
in the New Mutants, that we talked about earlier. And then afterwards, they start looking like this, right? And these are the monsters that are actually after the witch girl I told you about. This one, this girl right here, this girl right here. they're after her. It's like they used to terrorize her when she was young or something like that. So anyway, who you want me to look up? Randall something?
Yeah, type RANDALL, and then the next word is flag, FLAGG.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. So if you can get a picture of that guy's lapel or lapel, you'll see the smiley face.
Okay.
You have to kind of get a bigger picture. I don't know. Yeah.
See, let me try to set the settings to large. See what comes up here. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
There it is. And it's
So
the same.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know when that movie was made, but
I remember it coming out in the 80s, if I'm not correct.
right. So like you can see this idea, the underground ideas are there, pre-internet.
Yeah. And it's the same exact smiley face from the Watchmen.
And we can talk about more. We can. I mean, there's a lot. There's just a limitless amount of occult information. So that's the new stand. Yeah, that's it.
That's the new one. I didn't watch that one. Let me see.
It's not out. I don't think it's out until next month, but I might be wrong.
Okay. All right. Because nowadays I try to avoid everything Stephen King. I used to be into all those movies, Carrie and all. Not Carrie. He didn't do Carrie, I think, but Christine and whatnot.
Right.
When was this? When did this movie come out? It's not even here.
You can talk about The Shining and stuff like that. Like that.
Oh yeah, The Shining. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you've got all kinds of ESP going on there. He likes Indian burial grounds, so that's the same thing that ties Pet Cemetery to The Shining. So you got all that stuff, and yeah,
haunted houses, demon possession,
yeah.
blood, hallways, a psychopath. Basically, it seemed like he was demon possessed or something. Let's see. Look at that. Come on, really? So,
yeah. Well, they also have this maze right at the end, which is kind of like psychological maze of the mind. You know,
right?
I think I've seen that in other contexts.
There goes the blood.
There's a blood. Yeah. So that's another Stephen King. Yeah.
The maze has a lot of occult connotations. I haven't looked deep into it, but it's there. The show that Steven Spielberg produced. Okay, here it is. Ready Player One, The Shining. There we go. Google knows what I want. Son of a rat. So anyway, they mimicked The Shining. This is in virtual reality, and there you go. This is for PG-13, by the way.
Wow, that doesn't look PG-13 to me. The Overlook is the name of the hotel that they stayed at, so that's why it's called the Overlook.
Yeah. So, and they're showing The Shining later, right? And they go in. It seems sort of innocent. This is in real life, she's a lesbian, and she looks like a man in virtual reality. And so there's a sequence where she goes into a bathroom, and there's a woman in a tub. This right here. And this person turns into like a zombie-like creature, and then but she's she's flirting with the person, but like I said, in real life she's something else. She's not a man. So that's that, and turns into a zombie-like creature. But yeah, so they had a whole sequence in this movie that mimics The Shining, and it did get a little creepy, man. This is part of the sequence here where they start dancing with zombie-like creatures or whatnot. Ready Player One. I won't say it's a great movie. It's not the worst, but a lot of occult themes. Like here we have wizards or whatnot. This is the game master, the guy that actually made
the skeleton key is occultism. Yeah, the key to unlock secrets and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, not a bad movie to check out, but it's all over the place in this movie, man. All of the occult themes and whatnot. Steven Spielberg he's a part of that whole system too. For people that don't realize that.
Yeah, Michael Jackson, all kinds. Steven Spielberg, yeah, he's got some interesting associations.
Yeah. So, and the whole virtual world concept. That's where some of the new occult themes are lurking in video games, and we've covered some of weeks ago, and man, I've seen it my whole life, but it's getting even darker, just like the TV shows. So anyway, who are some of the other culprits here from the past? Crowley's everywhere, so we have to spend too much time on him. Also Alan Moore. Yeah, let's go Alan Moore, because a lot of people don't know Alan Moore. How do you spell his name? There we go. All right. So Alan Moore, this guy, he comes up a lot on my show. So let's just go there. Let's look up some of his films. Actually, it's more like his comic books that are turned into films.
Right.
Many people don't know about. All right. So, all right. We have V for Vendetta. Is this symbol right here that everybody loves to wear as the sign of truth? This is really Satan. Okay. V for Vendetta was a movie that is pretty much has Gnostic themes in it. So the woman in the film is Eve, and this guy is the guy that helps to bring her enlightenment. The Antichrist in the movie is really God, but you have to know Gnosticism and how to break it down. And in the comic book for V for Vendetta, there is a tribute to Crowley.
Right. He mentions "Do what thou wilt" should be the whole of the law twice.
Yeah. Let's see. Book and put Crowley. That's how you spell it, right? Yeah. Oops, I put an F there. Sorry, guys. I don't type well. Okay, leave me alone. Where is it here? They had like a young Crowley in there. If I could find the picture here.
Well, there's a young Crowley in From Hell. Maybe that's what you're referencing.
Young Crowley from Hell.
Yeah, in From Hell, there's a literal like young magician Crowley.
Oh, it's from Hell. Okay.
So yeah. There it is right there. If you go, but just back a second, I just saw a glimpse. You go, there it is, the very center that he's talking, but that's From Hell in the black and white.
This?
No, scroll down. That's not it. There's a little kid right there with a hat.
Okay,
that's it.
So I know about this, but there's another one in color, and it might be from this book. But either way, his whole thing is black magic. Your words are spells. If you write, you literally write. It's a spell. He also did. I think he did the Dark Knight, if I'm not mistaken. I think
he did the Killing Joke or whatever. I think it was
Killing Joke. All these dark themes that people enjoy a lot. Let's see here. We got V for Vendetta, League of Extraordinary Men.
Right, which I think has a Crowley figure in it. I think in one of the sequences, there's like a Crowley figure in the. If I remember, it's like there's like a blimp or something like that.
Yeah, let me see here. Let me look real quick.
See, there's the "Do It Thou Wilt" should be the whole law. Let
me see
right there on the far right.
There it is, right there.
Right there, yeah.
That's V for Vendetta.
He also mentioned something that's kind of occultic that I know I've seen in Crowley, which is the 5 V's, V, which is by way of truth I shall gain power or something like that. But he mentions that on his chair, the character.
Yeah.
Forgot the name.
And you see all these truthers out there with this mask. It's Satan. Oh my gosh. I just laugh sometimes, man. Let me see. Alan Moore books. Oh, so another big one is Watchmen. Right. He's the author of Watchmen, and this is where we see the smiley face. On what's his name? What's the dude's name? That wore the smiley face?
The comedian.
Comedian, yeah. This is the old version here. This is the guy that becomes a godlike figure. This is
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah. This guy right here, I can't remember his name, but he's a vision of Aleister Crowley. Goodness gracious, if I can get a big
I can't remember. He has all kinds of occultism. I forgot his name.
Yeah. So Alan Moore did Swamp Thing. This goes back into Earth worship and the Green Man and just weird themes. Okay. Let's see. We didn't come up on a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
And that has vampires, spies, whatever. So before we move from Watchmen, let's bring this up again. Watchmen, the TV show, which is loosely based on the book. TV show. All right, so this series right here, we talked about the other day on another breakdown or something. It has a lot of race baiting in it, and they have cops that wear a bunch of masks, like here, hey, well, look at COVID. But anyway, it has nothing to do with COVID, but it's just interesting that this stuff was like this in the TV show. So anyway, this lady by the end, if you don't want spoilers, check out now. But this lady by the end, she falls in love with Dr. Manhattan. She doesn't necessarily know it's him in the beginning, and he's a black man. He's disguised as a black man. She falls in love. They get married. But he was trying to basically give her something so later on she could become like him, a god. Okay, so it's all about transhumanism. So she's into that, but the people that are pretty much the storyline of the TV show, they are really into transhumanism, and they're this secret this guild or whatever, and they're building a machine to cause a bunch of stuff to happen to humankind, but for one person they will sacrifice humanity to become a god. That's pretty much the premise, and they, like I said, a bunch of race baiting in it and blah 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 blah. So this is the guy that we were trying to point out earlier, and he is a picture of Aleister Crowley. Okay, so but
what's the name of that character? I don't remember.
I don't remember, man. I can't. Anybody in the comments, if you know the name of his character, please let us know. I can't remember for nothing. Let's see here. There he is again.
Ozymandias, that's right.
Yes, Ozymandias. There we go. Yeah, and what does that name actually mean? Is it just made?
It goes back to a famous poem called Ozymandias. It's about somebody, I think it was by Blake or Shelley, I can't remember, who sees like this statue, and it says, "Once great here was Ozymandias." It's a literary reference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So so this is the guy that this is when Dr. Manhattan is revealing himself as the godlike being and whatnot, and he's trying to protect her. But there's a whole plan again of her becoming a god and whatnot, because he could see past, present, and future, and blah blah blah. They're trying to act like he's God. But anyway,
it's a poem by Percy Bysshe Shelley. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Okay. So another person pretending that they're God, right? That's what it sounds like.
Well, it's actually kind of a sacrilegious offense, right? If Christ is the King of Kings.
Right. Exactly what I'm talking about there. Yes. So that's Watchmen, coming from Alan Moore, same person who did V for Vendetta. He did. Somebody is talking about Promethea.
Promethea was one of his comic books as well, like based on Prometheus.
Right.
Promethea. I think it's PR. Yeah.
Okay. This one I've never seen.
That's just stock full of occultism.
It's
a massive occult.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So this, they have, not to my knowledge, they haven't made a movie out of this.
No.
Okay.
I think it's one of his lesser known works.
Extra. All right. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. They did make a movie out of this. This is all, you see a symbolism up there. Okay. So this guy, it's like he's his influence from Crowley is going into his stuff, and then he's going to influence another generation, as he already has influenced another generation.
Right.
And the characters within this, you could see the dark magic or whatnot. You got the mummy, you got the vampire, you got all these weirdos. At the time when this came out, I was into the movie or whatnot, even though the movie wasn't great. But now I'm like, brother, forget about it. There was another one.
Once you know the occult influences on some of these shows, it makes you less inclined to watch them.
Yeah. Oh, I can't forget. This is important. His Batman run. Batman run is, I believe, The Dark Knight. Alan Moore. He did a lot of Batman comics. Like you said, he did The Killing Joke. There's another Alan Moore, DC Universe. Once you start to see what these guys are into, you know that they're going to put it in the comic books. And even not, it's not that the comic books didn't have this stuff in it before, but they're just putting their own little twist on it. And what you start to do as the person that's not aware, or the person that gets engrossed by this stuff, you start to take on the characteristic, believe it or not. So just be careful of how much love you put towards these things. I know not everybody. I know, because I used to read this stuff, and I didn't go into the occult. So I'm not saying everybody, but we have people that are prone to this stuff. So he is definitely into.
Well, he's actually stated he's half into comics and half into the occult. So
yeah,
if he's made all those comic books, he's done tons of occult. He has this kind of spirit god, the snake that he worships, and yeah, so it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and he passed away, right?
Still alive.
So I thought he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
No, Alan Moore's still alive. I think he's in his 70s.
Okay, and he called himself now a black magician or something like that, right?
He called himself a magician. Yes, he's 66 years old.
66 years old. And here's one of this. Is this a biography or autobiography? Anyway, this is about Lance Parkin, but it's talking about the extraordinary life of Alan Moore. You can do all the research, guys, and look into this person. You'll see exactly what we're talking about. They have a couple video interviews on YouTube with him saying exactly what we're saying. So don't be surprised. It is real. And so,
yeah, he has all kinds of magical rings on his fingers.
Yep.
Huge rings.
Yeah. Oh, there they are, right there. There goes the rings. So we're not making this stuff up. Hollywood is full of this stuff, man. And what's this? This is Necronomicon by Alan Moore and Jason Burrows. Interesting.
Yeah, that looks like Lovecraft up there.
Yeah, because didn't Lovecraft make the Necronomicon?
Oh, he made the Necro. That's the Neonomicon. Something similar.
Okay, got you. All right. Okay, who's next?
Well, we can talk about Stanley Kubrick. We can talk about, what else do I have on my notes? We can talk about Polanski, Roland Emmerich. What's that?
Roman Polanski.
Yeah. Rosemary's Baby, Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, Super Occultism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go there. Let's start with Roman and then let's get into Depp. Okay. So,
but Roman Polanski tied into the whole Sharon Tate was his wife, Manson.
Yeah.
Very dark figure. I think that he is. I mean, he was basically convicted of drugging and raping, I think, a 15-year-old, and then left the country. And apparently, he's raped women. There's been accusations of him raping women in France.
Oh boy. So he's just another one of these dudes that got away with it, pretty much.
Got away with it, absolutely. France has no extradition treaty, so. Mm-hmm. But some of these people really admire him and praise him, and they talk about him at the Oscars and get up and clap like he's some kind of hero.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. And people have to keep their mouth quiet so they'll keep their little career.
They never talk about each other. They never expose each other, right? So it's kind of like the Hollywood has its own code of silence, omerta, right?
Yeah. And so what's this? Epstein? Is Epstein really tied with this guy?
No. Okay. I think somebody just made an art piece with him and Epstein in it. But Epstein had tons of friends in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They all just denied knowing him after after he got arrested. But Epstein would definitely had friends in Hollywood like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, so there you have a picture of Angelica Houston, John Huston's daughter. You've got Jack Nicholson, who was in Chinatown.
Mm.
The whole story of Chinatown is that the rich guy's daughter, the rich guy's daughter is his daughter. Like, no, what is it? The granddaughter is his daughter, so he's raping his daughter, and then she had a baby.
Oh.
That's the whole theme of the entire film. And then the guys say, "Well, it's Chinatown. You just don't understand it. It's too bizarre."
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen that movie. Chinatown.
It's yeah. So Jack Nicholson plays a detective, and it's really actually about kind of water rights in California and how people engaged in conspiracy to jack up the price of land by denying water rights to some of these places in the valley. It's pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's interesting they weave another theme in there outside of the main theme.
And John Huston is supposed to be like associated with the Black Dahlia murder because he was friends with a guy who is possibly the likely suspect, George Hodel, and that's Angelica Houston's dad. So you can type in John Huston, Black Dahlia. She was occultically murdered for sure, cut up. But this Black Dahlia, his son, Hodel's son, thinks that his dad did it. Wrote a book about it.
All right.
Hodel's his last name, Hodel. He's still around.
He's still around, you said?
Yeah, George Hodel. So retired LAPD detective thinks his father is the Black Dahlia. His father killed the Black Dahlia.
And these are the stories you never hear about till like 30 years later, 40, 50 years later.
There was actually a show, something, they actually did a whole show about the Black Dahlia. It's like something in the night or something like that.
Yeah.
The guy what's the actor who plays the new James T. Kirk in Star Trek? What's his name?
Chris Pine.
Chris Pine. So Chris Pine was in it. Okay. Chris Pine is in the Black Dahlia. Let me see if I can find it. I haven't seen this. It's I Am the Night is the TV series. 6 episodes last year.
I Am the Night right there. Interesting. I guess I'll check that out one day. Is it? You say you haven't seen it?
I have not seen it, but I have listened to the Ed Opperman interviewed George Hodel's son and talked about it. They had this creepy house called the Hodel House, and there's all kinds of shenanigans and things going on there with John Huston. And, these guys are, the occult's still around. So you don't see a lot of that stuff, what happens, but they were up to all kinds of dark stuff. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said, talk about Man Ray artist.
Right.
And George Hodel.
Right. So he was friends. Hodel was friends with Man Ray, who's an artist who did all these abstract paintings. I think they were surrealists, technically. They would call them surrealists. And so he would make surreal art. And some of these, like the Minotaur, the body is cut up in little pieces and it resembled the state of the Black Dahlia. So Man Ray, if you type that in, that picture should show up. Let's see. I would just say Man Ray art. Type in Man Ray Minotaur. Who's at the center of the maze, right? Center of the labyrinth. Oh. Yeah. So look at so you see these body parts and all of this stuff. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I want to make those big.
Yeah. I mean, you can just kind of see how strange and their sensibilities were. And you just wonder what's influencing what. Is the reality influencing the art? Or is the art influeing the Black Dahlia? I don't know.
Yeah, some
very dark stuff.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay, so that's interesting. So, I mean, and you know what? This goes into every industry as we're seeing, we have the artists that they're into a lot of weird stuff, just like, the lady that's connected to the pizza people.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is that Hodel, this guy was a lot like Epstein in a lot of ways. he would blackmail people. He had huge blackmail files, and he was a doctor, so he would arrange, supposedly, allegedly, abortions back when it was illegal, and drugs, and then he would have that information and know about it to celebrities and things like that. So he'd have leverage.
Wow. So, So let me skip. Go to somewhere before we get to the next person we're going to talk about. The guy that did Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson, yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna. Oh, got it. Sorry about my typing, guys. Peter Jackson. Let's go sigil. Oh, they don't have it.
They don't have it there. They do have Damien Eccles. I think I have a picture of it. Let me see if I can find that.
Okay. So this guy right here, he's from New Zealand, and he does sigil magic or whatnot. For those that don't know, sigil magic is pretty much you have a symbol, you put some words in it, then you start deducting from the words, and you have pretty much a symbol with letters in it. Let me give you an inference.
Here's a picture of.
Like
see
that.
if this pops up.
Okay, let me stop sharing mine first. Hold on. This is pretty much what sigil magic looks like. Okay, so people have tattooed this stuff, or they put it on the ground or whatever they're gonna put it on. Okay, and supposedly the spirit comes through it, or you can get some sort of good luck, whatever. Okay, all this stuff. This is pretty much what it looks like, depending on who's drawing the sigil, right? So let me stop sharing my screen and bring in yours.
Let's see if there it is. Yeah. So there's Damien Eccles with Peter Jackson, and then here's the sigil you're talking about. Let's see if I can get this to go out. Sure. Hold on just a second.
All right. No problem.
So you can see the Thielen script. You turn mine on. There you go. It's on the bottom right hand side of the screen.
Yes,
but that's actually was done by Damien Eccles. It's a style of Damien Eccles. And well, while we're at it, let's pull it up because he has the same one. Let's see.
Yeah. So
let me see if I can. Okay, so here, so look at that sigil tattoo, right? So that's it. So you don't think these guys are networked? Yeah, well, you haven't seen this.
Yeah, and it's not, as you see, it's not just about American Hollywood culture. It goes all the way over to other countries as well, because most people don't belong to Christ and they're into this weird stuff, and they put it either directly in the film or indirectly in the film, or they use it as rituals to make some of these films, and they call on the dark spirits, or for them they're light spirits, and they do whatever they're going to do. So
right, so if you look at this, if you can turn on that screen, you can see Depp with the same sigil there. So there it is on his chest. These are like literal tattoos these guys have.
Yeah, and Johnny Depp is a witch, people.
Oh man, you ever see him making out with Marilyn Manson?
Yeah, you could show it, but yeah.
I want to see the one with these two together. Oh yeah, here's Depp making your classic, satanic hand signs. Tons of satanic hand signs in his picture stuff.
Yeah. It's not coincidence, folks. And we understand. Can you share that? Oh, hold on. Let me add stream. There we go. Yeah. They know exactly what they're doing here. It's not yeah. And we're not trying to show you the triangle under his armpit. We're just we're showing you real stuff, okay? These people, I think Johnny Depp said that all of his roles are homosexual. I
heard that he channels entities to give him tips to when he's doing his
channeling spirits. Same thing with what's the guy you pointed out earlier that was in The Shining?
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Shirley MacLaine told him he's channeling, and he just laughed or smiled a little bit. Okay.
Interesting.
Keanu Reeves, I think he's the one that said he goes on demon rides. Nicolas Cage said something similar. So, you know, you can go and check out the report for yourself, people. It's also in
I got about 10 more minutes, Chris.
Okay, cool.
Let's see if I can find this picture of Eccles and Depp together. I can't seem to find it. Oh, but here's the same kind of. If we pull up Damien Eccles, it's the same type of deal.
Yeah.
Let's see. So you can see this tattoo here. I'm almost. I got 10 more minutes.
All right, no problem. No problem. Yeah. So this is just a taste, everybody. I mean, there's a.
Can you share? Can you share this picture? I don't think I can.
Yeah, there you go. That tattoo that looks like a barcode. Didn't Jay-Z use something like that on one of his albums? I believe it was a white album with red markings like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to find this other picture. I can't seem to find it. Oh, here we go. Let's see if I can get this to work.
All right, there goes the skeleton key. They had a movie called The Skeleton Key, and it was about voodoo.
Right.
And pretty much somebody shifting their soul into another person's body, but shifting them out of their body into the old person's body, because they've been transferring their souls for decades or whatnot to other people.
Can you share that screen?
All right.
There we go. So that's the depth of the. There's these guys making hands.
He said she went to school with Johnny Depp. She must have went to Broward County High. I think that's what it's called, Broward County High. I'm from Miami, so
There's Jackson with Eccles. These two. There's Eccles with Marilyn Manson. I can't find these old pics. I'm trying to find these old ones of Eccles and Depp together. Let's try this.
Yeah. I've watched for Michelle in LA. I've watched a couple of Little Light Studios videos. I would just caution, and they're 7-day Adventists, and sometimes they put some false information in there. I'll just caution with that. But I watched a couple of their videos.
Can you share this screen that I just put up? That's the picture of Depp and Eccles together.
All right, so there we are, people. More pictures of Eccles and Depp. Can you explain to them where the story about Damien Eccles really quick? Because
it goes all the way back to a criminal case back in 1993, and he got out in 2011 with the help of people like Depp. So here's Depp with Eccles, and this is a famous tattoo artist in the center, which I didn't know at the time when I took this picture, but I can't remember his name. He's been in Lana Del Rey video, but he does black and white tattoos. So these guys get this hexagram from the I Ching together, the angel and the whirlwind.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was misunderstood. Miramar High, that's right. Not Broward County High, but Miramar High. Yeah, my cousin of mine went there too, and he found out that Johnny Depp went to that school. Yeah, so the Echo. So it was Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder, and few other witches.
Henry Rollins, Dixie Chicks, Margaret Cho, just a whole bunch of. I can't remember who else.
And they lobbied
a lot of other bands, and Jackson, Peter Jackson. So
right, and they lobbied to get Damien Eccles out of prison.
Well, they definitely did. They definitely used a lot of PR, but they also paid to get the best appellate attorneys available to kind of lever his way out. So he actually pled guilty in 2011 to using something called an Alford plea, which is it's a Supreme Court case that allows you to plead guilty while publicly stating you're innocent. But it's technically not really technically, but in any court of law, first-degree murder anywhere.
Yeah.
But they kind of like go around saying, "Oh yeah, no, we didn't do it," but no, it's a guilty plea.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, here we go. The threads go deep, far, and wide, and we won't ever hit a bottom with Hollywood.
This is just the surface on the case.
Yeah. So, any questions for William as we start to wrap up here, guys? Any questions dealing with Hollywood or Memphis? We're actually going to come back and do something on the Memphis 3. Is that what it's called, Memphis 3?
Memphis 3 anytime. I could talk your ear off for at least 3 hours on that.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. You know, well, hold on. Paul Booth is trying to say. You know about Paul Booth?
Paul Booth. That name does not sound familiar.
Okay. Well, he's a satanic art. He does satanic art for the stars. This person is saying, or Watchmen for you. Get on a list and you pay him to put on whatever wickedness that he puts on. I mean, but that's everywhere. I get it. He works for the stars. So
yeah, he's just another tattoo artist. There he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the book Abomination. It talks about the Memphis 3 murders, West Memphis 3 murders. And in the middle there's Damon Eccles, if for people that haven't realized what was in front of you. So it's a pretty interesting story. And they got out, or he got out. Did all of them get out?
Did what?
Did all of them get out of prison?
All 3 of them are out of prison. That's correct.
All right.
The guy's name is the guy tattoo artist is Mark Mahoney, Shamrock Social Club.
Okay.
So that was the guy who did the tattoos for Eccles and Depp.
Okay. All right.
Memphis 3 if people are interested.
Yeah. Check out the books. This person says, what about, let me see. Jessica King says, what about George Romero's stuff? I wrote a comment earlier, and Tom Savini are both from Western Philadelphia.
What was the movie that they did? Was it Walking Dead, or what was the one that made them?
He started the zombie franchise here, the Fiend, the whole zombie craze, Night of the Living Dead, and all that, Day of the Dead, and all those things. Gotcha. That horror story. So you don't know much about George Romero, right?
No, I don't. You know.
Yeah,
nothing would surprise me these days. It's almost like the default is they're putting Easter eggs or occult symbols or numbers and stuff in their films.
Yeah, I think. Okay, here's a question. Does William see the numbers associated with WM3 5/5 day? If the crime, 18 years in jail, 11 was the year they got out, etc. You understand what she's trying to say there?
Yeah, I think so. But I didn't really see that kind of numerology. I definitely have seen Eccles call himself Archmage 11. 11 is like the prime number of Crowley's system and the occult in general. But the dates and things like when the kids died, it was May 3rd. I think it was during kind of a ritual holiday. Samhain, I think it was. So there may have been some thought by them at the time of what's going on, but I mean, the numerology of Crowley is that like the ideal sacrifice in magic and theory practice is a child of perfect innocence, a male child of perfect innocence who's 8 years old, and so that's a correlation between the victims and Crowley for sure. And Crowley was brought up on stand. The prosecutors had a copy of Magic and Theory and Practice on the table. They asked him questions about Crowley. He was writing a secret language to himself while he was in jail. He mentioned himself, Baldwin, and Crowley in kind of different language. And that tattoo that Eccles uses, that scribble around there is called the Theban alphabet. It goes back to a magical tradition and back to all the way back to Greece, and it's called the Theban alphabet. And Charles Gardner, who started Wicca, used it often. So Eccles is kind of like I think he's a wide-ranging, knowledgeable occultist from a variety of traditions, including Wicca, Crowley, and all this other stuff. So I think he's digested or had digested in a kind of autodidact fashion. He had read a lot of that stuff, even by the time he was 18.
Yeah. Well, as we close, someone mentioned Tom Savini and Jessica King. She mentioned Tom Savini that designed Predator and Jason Voorhees. Yeah, pretty much. Jason Voorhees, one of these characters that are totally possessed. From all the characters, the main characters from the 80s, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, by the end of the series, you see that they're all demon possessed. So there's always 3 spirits or something like that, or worm-looking demons that come out of them. I used to watch all that stuff. But the Predator, it's not necessarily demonic. It's just somebody's creation. I don't know anything. I haven't seen any references that say the Predator is like demonic or anything like that.
Not to my knowledge.
Not to my knowledge either. Here's the thing. People are just creative, and sometimes I used to draw a lot of this stuff. I used to have a comic book when I was younger, and I used to draw a ton of monsters and whatnot, but it wasn't stuff based on the occult unless it was on the evil side. And sometimes, even in the Bible, you'll find creatures that we would think are monsters, but they're in heaven, right? You have one creature with eyeballs all over its body. I mean, come on, So
Right.
you just have to find out where the evidence is for these people's occult rituals. It always leads back to something, but let's not go down the road. Not saying that you are, Jessica, but talking generally here. We could take the symbols and the this and the that, and then we could start making our own little story through our imagination that all of these things have to be demonic or whatever. So we gotta be careful with that. All of us have imaginations, and we can come up with crazy stuff. But when we see the proof, the evidence, especially when it's from these people's mouths, now we have a case.
That's true.
So we'll have more shows about this stuff. We'll go into the eye symbol and the goddess symbol, the upside down triangle, the right side up triangle, what it all means. We'll discuss symbols in other shows. But not for right now. We're talking about kind of new and old Hollywood and what it means for today. And this goes into the music industry as well. We're coming out with another segment called The Spirit Behind the Music. And that's obviously all about music. So William's going to do one of those for us as well, because he has music knowledge.
I mean, we didn't even cover Harry Potter, which is pretty amazing.
Oh, Harry
There's
Potter.
a lot of musicians.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's another show. So we can come back to Harry Potter and its big influence on our culture. And, I hope you guys got a real treat today. Hopefully it resonated with you and you took some notes and are able to spark conversation to tell people what they're actually being introduced to or fantasizing over. It's one thing to watch a movie as entertainment. It's another thing to become a fanatic. That's where your heart lies. So thank you for joining us today, William.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you again.
Yes, sir. Me too. I really enjoyed this conversation. And I see that the audience has enjoyed it too. Let me make sure that we didn't miss any questions. Done. Solid MK Project, Alphabet, Ozzy Albert. Yep. Okay. All right. So we're pretty much done, folks. And this is Hollywood Matrix, episode 6. As far as episode 5, I'd just like to tell you we're going to redo it. We're still going to redo it 107. So just be patient. Thank you so much. And remember out there, preach the gospel and don't let them burn.